Cable Bahamas employs over 500 people. Of the 500, how many of them do you think are Bahamian?
About three-quarters.
Okay.
I will say 80%.
I would say all.
All?
I would say about 98%.
98%.
Yes.
I was going about 80%,
80.
so but 98 sounds better.
I'd say 80%.
I think about 95% of them are Bahamian, yes.
What if I told you 99%?
99% of the people is Bahamian?
99%.
That's true?
Excellent.
Yeah? So Cable Bahamas is entirely for the Bahamian people.
That is correct. Cable Bahamas is widely represented by Bahamians.
Well, now you know.
An estimated 140 BTC workers to be laid off next week. The F&M says government is delusional when it comes to crime. An environmental lawyer calls for an independent Rubis probe. Plus, it's the return of Superman. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Vonique Toot and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, the union representing line staff at the Bahamas Telecommunications Company is calling for the Prime Minister to intervene amid reports BTC plans to lay off around 140 employees next week Tuesday. BCPOU President Bernard Evans says union executives met with BTC's negotiating team today to discuss the downsizing exercise. When asked if the union is prepared to take industrial action, he said anything can happen.
Whenever your back is against the wall, self-preservation is all you have. And so given the emotions expressed this morning, anything could happen. Anything could happen.
After meeting with members of BTC's negotiating team at the Million Nassau Beach Resort for more than 2 hours today, BCPOU President Bernard Evans says he understands about 140 employees' positions will be made redundant. NB12 obtained a copy of a letter sent to BTC executives by a senior human resources official last evening. It reads, the negotiations team has been instructed to meet with both unions tomorrow to advise them that staff within the bargaining units who have been identified by divisions to be made redundant will be separated and receive the severance payments from the company on Tuesday, 30th June 2015. The group of impacted employees will be from areas that have been identified for outsourcing. Evans, who recently described the downsizing exercise as painful and disgusting, says union executives still haven't received a list of impacted employees. However, he says he understands workers at the flagship store in the Marathon Mall and other departments could be let go.
Members have been anticipating for a long time about this happening. And so now we're hearing rumors. We still don't have a list, so people really don't know who's going to be impacted. This morning, they kind of told us some of the areas that are going to be impacted.
What areas?
The areas are pretty much outside plant, billing, one or two of the stores, directory publications, other areas. They intended to maybe make 140 people redundant.
In the letter to BTC executives, the human resources official notes that there is a high probability of union unrest, saying, this announcement is not expected to be well received, and we anticipate that there will be some level of industrial action by some members of the union. Consequently, the CEO has advised the various stakeholders, including the Minister of National Security, and we are also expected to alert our own security services to be on the alert for any action by the unions. Evans noted today that anything can happen when their backs are against the wall, telling us employees are frustrated and even cried today.
Extremely frustrating. It was very, very emotional. This morning, I think a few people really was emotionally moved. I was one of them, obviously. Save for an intervention, we can try and seek high office, again, the highest office in the land, for some intervention.
The Prime Minister?
Yes. It is sad that, Cable and Wireless continue to increase staff count in Miami Beach or in Miami, Florida, and continue to wind down jobs here in the Bahamas. So we're going to see what happens between now and Tuesday of next week.
In addition to next week's exercise, BTC executives were informed in the letter that all temporary and contracted staff will be informed tomorrow that their engagement contracts will come to an end by tomorrow. As a result, the letter says, any planned overtime in areas where persons are being made redundant must also be suspended based on the requirements of the union contract. Evans says while he hasn't formally notified his members, he has been inundated with calls from emotional employees.
Before we ended our meeting, members of staff already knew. Some of us leaked out, so we keep getting a flood of calls already. Members are concerned and very, very, very emotional about the whole thing.
BTC offered voluntary separation package applications in March. However, in a statement to employees that month, the company said because of the small number of applicants, it would move ahead with reducing staff by redundancies. We understand 50 people were approved for VSEPs. In other news, it's clear the Christie administration is disconnected from the Bahamian people when it comes to crime. That's according to Free National Movement Chairman Senator Michael Pintard, who today blasted State Minister for National Security Keith Bell following his recent assertion that government is winning the war on crime. Dana Smith tells us more.
The F&M chairman said Bahamians are living in fear, and the State Minister of National Security's insensitive comment that government is winning the war on crime shows this administration is disconnected from reality.
I think it's a very insensitive remark, and it clearly shows that there is a disconnect between the government of the Bahamas and the people. I mean, obviously, we are living during a period where people are living in fear. And it isn't just fair because they believe that at some point they could be harmed. It's fair because many Bahamians are victimized by crime directly, whether it is a break-in that can turn violent, whether it is a relative that has been injured as a result of a conflict, or a relative that has been killed.
While addressing crime in the Senate yesterday, Bell had said, yes, we are winning. Winning because we have a comprehensive plan to address crime and criminality. He said, as it relates to crime, generally, we are having great success in this war. Pintard said it's unfortunate that Bell, as the State Minister of National Security, dismissed the concerns and outrage of many Bahamians.
For a government minister who has responsibility for the administration of law and order in the country to dismiss the legitimate concerns and outrage that Bahamians have shows that he is not connected to the reality that we're facing, that ordinary Bahamians are facing, and it's unfortunate that he's occupying that particular position.
Bell had also taken note in the Senate the number of accused criminals who are released on bail only to be murdered in the streets. Bell said in the last 6 years, 138 people were murdered within 4 months of being released on bail. Asked about this, Pintard said bail laws must be looked at again, but preventative measures should also get attention.
Successive governments have made the point that there's a need to revisit the provisions, the basis on which persons are getting bail. Certainly when we were in power, we made adjustments to the law to try and decrease the grounds on which persons who've been accused of homicide can get bail. And obviously, we have to look at the laws again. But apart from looking at the laws after the fact, we need to focus on preventative measures.
Pintard said while he's deeply concerned with how people on remand are dealt with, he is even more concerned about an absence of initiatives focused on preventing incarcerations in the first place. Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
A top environmental attorney is calling for an independent investigation into the Rubis fuel leak at Marathon, as well as the test results of Marathon residents who may have been affected by the 2012 leak. This as a Rubis official confirmed that an investigation is underway following reports of a possible leak at the Rubis Porky station along East Street South. Kyle Joaquin has the details.
A week after an investigation was launched into a possible leak at Rubis' Sandyport location, Environmental attorney Ramal Ferreira is once again calling for an independent investigation into the Robinson Road Rubis fuel leak and remediation efforts undertaken by the company. It was just a few months ago that government apologized for withholding the findings of a report which found that residents may have been exposed to harmful chemicals in their groundwater and in the air. Town meeting after town meeting, residents vented over the many unanswered questions, in particular the possible exposure they may have had to benzene, a known contributor of cancer. One major thing this environmental attorney has a concern about is the testing.
We're screening calls right now where the residents, even when their results are turning up hot, where there's concern, we had a couple of residents call this office and say, they pulled me to the side and she noticed a red asterisk, one in particular by her name, but they would not give them the results. So again, we have more hiding of the results from people. People can't get the results of the test that they've already taken.
Hundreds of Marathon residents have already had their blood tested for any harmful chemicals. A rep from the public clinics has already stated that many residents who have been tested have yet to come for their results. However, Ferreira says he's more concerned about what's going to happen when it comes to long-term testing and any possible illness.
Long-term health screening involves testing at least twice a year over a period of years. People don't be exposed to benzene today and develop the cancer tomorrow. This is against a backdrop where we heard them say that there's a cluster of cancers in that area. This is against a backdrop of complete and utter lack of transparency and accountability.
But it's not just the Rubis locations on Robinson Road and Sandyport that has people concerned. A Rubis official has confirmed that investigations are now underway into a possible fuel leak at this Portkey service station on East Street South. In a statement, the operations manager for Rubis, the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, Jermaine Colbrook, said, "At all its stations, Rubis has a computerized leak loss detection system on its fuel equipment. The system at Portkey's recorded no leaks or fuel losses. We also reviewed the fuel stock records and no losses were indicated." So what should residents of Marathon be doing now?
The residents of Marathon should be calling their member of parliament. They should be demanding the test results. They should be speaking with their attorneys. They should talk to their priests and their pastors. They should be galvanizing themselves together. They should be looking at this beyond politics.
Ferreira says so far many have inquired and he now represents 2 families taking legal action. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Still to come, Fred Mitchell mum on his leadership aspirations. The details are after this break.